Assalamu alaikum, girls, with a lot of more enthusiasm because recording the lecture again. So let's share the screen and hope we are not going to face any problem again. Please, आप खुद ब खुद बंद नहीं होएगा. Let's move on to the lecture. Where were we? We have studied role of nitrogen, role of calcium, environmental hazards regarding fertilizers, components of human food. And then we have studied carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, and we have studied minerals as well. We were studying major minerals, but trace minerals were left. So we are going to go into the detail of trace minerals. We will talk about role of calcium and iron. This is basically one topic. Role of calcium and iron is discussed in one topic, but the role of calcium is discussed separately and role of iron is discussed in another paragraph. So kindly, you are also going to divide it into these two subheadings and further headings. Let's talk about these minerals, which are very important in our diet. Although they are required in either more than 100 milligram as major minerals or less than 100 milligram per day as trace minerals, but they are very important component of our diet. If I recall the function of sodium, potassium, and chlorine, you know that all of them are responsible in fluid balance in our body, and they're very important for muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, heart function, and blood pressure. So all of these minerals are um, very important in muscular and neuromuscular contraction and neurological function and heart functions, so on and so forth. Then we talked about calcium and magnesium, which are also very important for the development of bones and teeth, and calcium is also involved in blood clotting. Let's talk about trace minerals. Trace minerals are the one which are required less than 100 milligram per day. Hannah, then Adan is nodding along with me that yes, Mama. Mama को सुनो Mama क्या पढ़ा रही. अच्छा. The important trace minerals are iron, zinc, copper, chromium, fluoride, and iodine. If we talk about iron, we have discussed the role of, we somehow know about iron, that it is involved in transportation of oxygen. And we know that somehow that it is part of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the one which is transporting oxygen to the whole body. And iron is also involved in storage of oxygen. So oxygen is involved in iron is involved in oxygen transportation by hemoglobin and in the storage of oxygen by myoglobin, or somehow in the muscles, that is protein. We will discuss it later on. And zinc is the mineral which is involved in insulin action, which helps in insulin action. Insulin is a hormone released by endocrine glands, released by certain glands, जो आपने नहीं पढ़े हुए, which we will discuss in 10th class. Insulin is basically a hormone which picks up extra glucose from our blood and stores it. और डायबिटीज हो जाती है अगर इंसुलिन ना बन रही हो. You must have heard of insulin injections to treat diabetic patients, but there are different kind of diabetes, and in one case we use insulin injection. That insulin is used to store extra glucose from blood, so these patients cannot store extra glucose from blood. So it is such an important function performed by insulin, and zinc also contribute in that. If you are deficient of zinc, you will be making less insulin. So if you are normal amount of zinc, your body will be releasing normal insulin. Zinc is important in making of insulin. It helps in growth and reproduction too. ग्रोथ के जितने प्रोसेसेस हैं वहाँ पर एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ में भी zinc is required. And if we look at the combined function of iron and zinc, so we see that they are also involved in very important function of immunity. Iron and zinc both are involved in immunity, and they are also enzyme cofactors. They are cofactor acting as cofactor for many of the enzymes. So iron and zinc are so important that iron is involved in oxygen transportation and storage, and both of them are involved in immunity too. We will later on see कि iron के function किस किस चीज को affect करता है. Copper, it acts as enzyme cofactor. You know, we have studied cofactor in 6th chapter. Cofactors are required by some of the enzymes for their normal functioning. So copper is acting as cofactor. Chromium. Chromium is also helping in insulin action. You can learn in this way that zinc and chromium, both of them are, आप एरो डाल सकते हैं यहाँ पर ऐसे जैसे मैं ये कर रही हूँ यहाँ से यहाँ का एरो यहाँ से ये to correlate your learning process that zinc and chromium both are helping in insulin action. Zinc and chromium together are helping in insulin action. And fluoride is the mineral which is involved in stabilizing bones and hardens tooth enamel. Now it is enamel, tooth enamel, the outermost covering of tooth, the one which makes your teeth appear shiny and bright. बिल्कुल thin layer होती है and it protects our teeth, and that shiny layer gives beauty to our teeth. So this fluoride mineral is stabilizing bone, other minerals, and it is also hardening tooth enamel. Haven't we heard in an ad, fluoride से दांत चमकते मोती? तो वो जो दांत चमकते मोती इसलिए because it is hardening tooth enamel that your teeth will appear shiny. अच्छा, जिन लोगों की enamel खराब हो जाती है तो उनके teeth becomes yellowy and less shiny. So it's one of the very important minerals stabilizing bones and stabilizing our enamel. We need to check out how we can get fluoride from our diet. तो उसका तरीका जो होता है how we can get iron from our diet, how we can get zinc from our diet, copper, chromium. तो हम Google images में जाकर अगर हम लिखें zinc rich diet तो we get or iron rich diet or copper rich diet, chromium rich diet in separately. So you can get lots of posters or flow charts or things like that which will show you easily that what kind of rich diets, what kind of diet will make me uh, I mean क्या कहना चाहिए, will supply me good amount of iron or zinc or copper. It's an easy way, and you can cross check by checking many of the posters or many of the flow charts to confirm your knowledge. So this is the easy way to get the knowledge regarding which diet is good for me. Let's talk about iodine. Iodine is essential for normal thyroid function. Now, what is thyroid? Thyroid is a gland present in our neck region above vocal cords, above voice box. The thyroid gland is also the gland which we will discuss in 10th chapter among endocrine glands. This gland is the one which is basically releasing thyroxine hormone, which is thyroxine hormone has certain function, but thyroid hormone gland cannot make thyroxine unless it has a normal amount of iodine. This thyroid gland helps in growth and other things, activities, many activities. But for the normal functioning of thyroid gland, iodine is required. So you might have seen people with an enlarged gland over neck region. इतना बड़ा फूली हुई नेक होती है, that is called as goiter, और उर्दू में हम उसको गिलहड़ कहते हैं, इसको बंदे को goiter हो गया. So that is because of less deficient of iodine, and mainly goiter is happening in northern areas because the soil is lacking iodine mineral in it. Why soil is lacking iodine mineral? Because of heavy rainfall, and because of erosion. The trees are not intact. Because of erosion, the soil, fertile soil, is eroding away and taking the minerals along with it. So the plants grown in that area are deficient of iodine. Animal feeding on those plants are also deficient, and we human, when feeding on such plants and animals, become deficient of iodine and ultimately suffer from certain diseases, right? Now let's talk about role of calcium and role of iron. As I told you earlier, that calcium is very important component for maintaining bone and teeth health. I was checking actually कि recording हो रही है कि नहीं हो रही. फिर मुझे डर लग रहा है कि second recording design आ जाए. So calcium is required for the development and maintenance of bones and teeth. I'm practical example of it. When I am not taking care of my health during after my second child, and during that second child, I wasn't taking calcium and iron properly, especially the calcium, and I'm feeling a lot of pain because of deficiency of calcium. I mean, calcium is involved in maintenance of bones plus in muscles. ये देखें, maintaining cell membrane and connective tissue. इस चीज से बात क्लियर नहीं होती, मैं भी पढ़ाती हूँ, but this heading is not going to give you the clear picture that which I'm telling you from my experience. But I used to feel a lot of pain even now. When I was feeding my child, I used to feel, I mean, like as if जैसे वो नशई की जो फीलिंग होती है कि पूरी बॉडी में दर्द हो रही है, पूरी बॉडी में एक वेव्स जा रही हैं. That is not only your bones, that is basically affecting your muscles too. You feel pain even now, even to the day now. If I take one bottle of drink, any 7 Up or Pepsi, क्योंकि मैंने अभी तक अपनी वो सही नहीं किया हुआ. If I take one bottle of Pepsi, yes, the day before yesterday I took 7 Up and Pepsi because of certain dawat, and now I'm again feeling pain in my feet. जो मेरे पाँव की हड्डियों में दर्द फील होता है. Only one bottle, अब मैं एक और knowledge दे रही हूँ, only one bottle of 7 Up and Pepsi is incorporating into that pain. These drinks take out the calcium from your bones and take out the important minerals from your bones and make you feel weak. Even your muscles. Look, as I told you, that calcium, as I'm about to tell you, that calcium is maintaining cell membrane and connective tissues. It is, I mean, cell membrane is present in every cell. It is helping in maintaining the structure of membrane and connective tissues. We know there are soft connective tissues and hard connective tissues. Among soft, blood and adipose tissues are included, and among hard connective tissues, bones and cartilage are included. So it is going to affect our adipose tissues and our blood and hard connective tissues as well. And it is affecting the muscles too, because there is a role of calcium in muscular contraction too. As I have studied, sorry, I have studied at MSc level of neuromuscular contraction, that how message is coming from neuron and calcium vesicles are docking at the junction of neuron and muscle. फिर वो calcium also release into the muscles to start contraction. So what I'm trying to tell you here, Calcium is playing very important role in muscles contraction too. You will feel weak at muscles level too if you are deficient of calcium. Activation of several enzymes, it is acting as activator for many of the enzymes, not inhibitor, it is activator. It also aids in blood clotting. We have studied it before in the table कि blood clotting होती क्या है, how a wound happens. After a wound, blood needs to stop, so it happens because of clotting, and normally blood doesn't clot. At wound areas, blood clots, and that starts from different minerals and different like platelets also play a role in blood clotting. Calcium also play its role in blood clotting. And what are the important sources of calcium like milk, cheese, egg yolk, bean, nuts, and cabbage? I've told it to you before that milk is not only the source of calcium, it is the source of many proteins and vitamins. Cheese, egg yolk as well, as a source of many is a source of many vitamins. So is the case if you look at nuts. Nuts, fat, we get fats too. Nuts are not only the source of calcium; they are also the source of many vitamins. And but they are also a good source of calcium. Now let's talk about deficiency of calcium. I have discussed some of the things before regarding deficiency of calcium, but one of the major disease it can cause is tetany. And our what is tetany? Tetany is a disease in which there is spontaneous release of nerve impulses. खुद ब खुद discharge हो रहा है nerve impulse जहाँ पे ज़रूरत भी नहीं है. Now what is nerve impulse? I might have discussed it to you earlier, but let me give you a very easy example because actually तो हमने 10th grade में पढ़ना है. अच्छा, when we touch a hot object, कभी किसी गर्म तवे पे हाथ लग जाए, we quickly move our hand away from that hot object. That is a nerve impulse. कैसे? When we are touching the hot object, our fingers send message to the brain. The brain interprets it and sends the command to the muscles of arms to quickly switch, move away your hands. This is one nerve impulse. When I am delivering the lecture and I am reading this through the screen, and this message goes to the brain, my eyes send this message to the brain, and the brain sends the command to particular area to my mouth muscles to speak. Different mouth muscles are involved in speaking process. And then side by side, I'm giving gestures. In a normal class, we give gesture by using hands and we move during the class. We keep an eye on students too. So keeping an eye on students is happening by eyes. Eyes is sending information to the brain and the particular area will speak up. Like Hafsa or Mariam, खामोश हो जाएं, ये क्यों आप बोल रहे हैं? So your eyes is sending information and your brain is receiving it and sending command to your mouth area to speak to your muscles to speak relevant information. अच्छा, फिर आप thinking process भी हो रहा है, that is another nerve impulse in your brain, frontal lobe में, front माथे वाली area में thinking भी हो रही है, आप gestures भी दे रहे हैं, तो different nerve impulses are going on. तो आपको clear हो गया what is nerve impulse? अच्छा, what happens in this disease is that spontaneous, without any need, your body is discharging nerve impulses, not to every area, maybe to some muscles, maybe to certain area. हमने 10th क्लास में भी टेटनी के बारे में पढ़ना है कि इट कॉजेज मसल ट्विच, यानी आपकी बॉडी का कोई मसल ट्विच करने शुरू हो जाएगा बगैर किसी वजह के, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और रिलैक्स कर रहे हैं धर 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 करके. क्या कहना चाहिए, कभी आप मसल खुद ब खुद हिलना शुरू हो जाए तो उसको कहते हैं मसल ट्विच, एंड इट हैपन्स इन द डिजीज ऑफ टेटनी. और एक आपके एंकल है, एंकल बोन बिकम वेरी सॉफ्ट. अब आप पाँव को जरा मोड़ के देखिए एंकल जॉइंट पे, it's not easy to fold, it's not easy to fold your ankle joint because it's hard. But in case of diseases like tetany, your ankle joint becomes soft or too much flexible, not soft. Flexibility increases to an extent that you will not be able to stand. So एंकल ज्वाइंट का फर्म होना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. So this is what happens because of deficiency of calcium, and your bones also become soft. Your blood is going to clot slowly. The wound healing is going to be affected. When the clot is not formed properly or formed slowly, your wound is also going to heal slowly. So these are the negative aspects of calcium, deficiency of calcium. Let's look at the next slide. Role of iron. It's a major mineral. It's a mineral which is required in oxygen transportation and storage. And you know that it's a component of hemoglobin and myoglobin. Achha, hemoglobin is a protein found in red blood cells involved in oxygen transportation, and myoglobin is a protein present in muscle cells, again involved in storage of oxygen. Hemoglobin भी protein है, globular protein, and myoglobin is also a globular protein. The word globin is telling us that it is a globular गोल-मटोल protein. Hemoglobin में का मैंने आपको बताया हुआ है कि और myoglobin का भी. Let's look at the structure. Iron is present. Look at the hemoglobin on left side. It is made up of 4 chains: 1 chain, 2 chain, 3, and 4. I have discussed its structure before. And now I'm telling you that among these 4 chains, iron is present in the center. I was telling here, I think so, but it is present in the center of every chain. Iron, 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 in the middle of heme. So iron is present in hemoglobin, and it is involved in oxygen transportation. Iron होगा तो hemoglobin बनेगा. Hemoglobin होगा तो oxygen की transportation होगी. And oxygen की transportation होगी तो aerobic respiration होगी. And aerobic respiration कम होगी so less energy will be formed, and thousands of reactions will be compromised at cellular level, and ultimately you look pale, which is called as anemia. Coming to myoglobin, look at the globular structure here. It has iron in the center. In this case, it is called as ferrous, and here it is ferric iron. Leaving the knowledge of ferrous and ferric aside, just see how it has iron element in the middle. And it is also involved in storage of oxygen, oxymyoglobin and deoxymyoglobin. This myoglobin is present in muscles. Okay? So now you are familiar with the structure. Let's see that hemoglobin is present in RBCs, myoglobin is present in muscle cells. And if we look at the next point, iron also is required in energy production at cell level. So at cell level, many reactions which are happening to produce energy, iron is required over there. It is also a cofactor for many enzymes. And without a cofactor, enzyme will not work. It is also supporting immune function. Now I'm moving fast to tell you comprehensively about all these functions. See how much important iron is. It is involved in oxygen transportation in muscles and in the red blood cells, which is a very important function. If it is not going to fulfill properly, we will be anemic because oxygen पूरी properly मिलेगी, aerobic respiration नहीं होगी, energy नहीं बनेगी. Again, it is also involved in many reactions to make energy. So that energy is also going to be compromised. It's a cofactor for many enzymes. So that enzymes are very important. If they are going to be affected, many important functions are going to be affected. It also supports our immunity. And our immunity these days, we now are well aware of it, that immunity has such an important role to protect us from vicious diseases like this COVID-19. So iron is playing its role in many ways to make us strong. If you are having less oxygen, you are becoming anemic. Oh, can you turn this on? बैटरी लो हो रही है तो आप एनीमिक हो सकते हैं. और आपकी इम्यूनिटी कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो सकती है. एंड so many roles are played by iron, which are all of them are very important. And I'm astonished. खाली आयरन की डेफिशिएंसी से भी मैं वीक हो सकती हूँ, जो मेरा अपना पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है. एज सुन एज आई क्लीन होम, और वो इतनी हेक्टिक वर्क नहीं होता, आई फील लाइक आई एम डन. और मेरी कमर भी टेढ़ी, लाइक लिटरली मेरा गेट जो है, चलने का स्टाइल बदल जाता है. मतलब मैं टेढ़ा होकर चलना शुरू हो जाती हूँ आजकल. मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है. तो आई नीड टू फोकस ऑन बोथ आयरन एंड कैल्शियम. इफ यू सी, देखेंगे इतनी जगहों पर एनर्जी कम हो रही है. वैसे these days I'm focusing on vitamin B12 as well. But look at the role of iron and calcium together, how it can make you strong and how it can make you weak. Let's talk about sources of iron. We can get especially from red meat. It's a very good source of iron, and egg yolk, whole wheat, fish, spinach, and mustard. Plants, spinach is a very good source of iron, and in animals, the red meat is a very good source of iron. But I have learned during all this process of having my family, I have learned that we get a good source of iron from animal source. Animal source easily absorb हो जाती है हमारी बॉडी में. Although plant is also a good source, but उसमें time लगता है absorb होने में. But animal source iron is easily absorbable in our body, easily becomes part of our body. Deficiency of iron can is the most common deficiency worldwide, and you know that if you are deficient of iron, that is called as anemia. You become anemic, and you become pale. I've discussed the effects many times before. So this is what happens in case of deficiency of iron. So I have to wind up my lecture here. I moved a bit fast because it's almost second time that I'm doing it. Let's stop recording.